Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we're doing a what's for dinner video, which I'm really excited for. And it's also a Disney inspired recipe. So I'm going to be doing a butternut squash soup inspired by the butternut squash soup at Boma. However, I am going to be kind of adding some extra things to it as well. The other thing is I'm going to be using my Instant Pot to make this, which I just got, so I'm really excited to do that. Let's take a look at the ingredients. All of the ingredients I'm going to link down below, but again, I'm going to kind of deviate a little bit. So I've got a medium butternut squash, onion, some carrots, I've got some cream cheese, some milk, chicken broth, and American cheese, which is my favorite kind of cheese. So excited. It really is. I really love it. I've got my spices here, cumin, ginger, cinnamon, and then chili powder is not in the recipe, but I'm going to add it. It also does call for coriander, which I do not have, so instead I'm just going to serve it with some of this cilantro here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to peel my butternut squash. I'm going to peel and dice both this and the carrots, and I'm actually going to cook them in the Instant Pot. Normally I would roast the butternut squash, and I love that flavor. It's nice and toasty and warm, but I'm going to give it a shot in the Instant Pot. It's not going to have the same texture and characteristics, but it's going to be a lot faster. So let me just prep these ingredients, and then I'll see you guys back in just a second. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and prep my butternut squash here. If you've never worked with it before, a couple things. One, I am going to use gloves because I'm a baby. No, not because I'm a baby, even though I am. But butternut squash has like a very waxy, sticky sort of flesh, and it's really hard to wash off. So if you don't use gloves, that waxy stuff kind of gets all over your hands and it's really a pain to get off. So I'm just taking a normal vegetable peeler here, and you just sort of peel it. And then I'm going to go ahead and just peel the whole thing. Alright, so the squash is peeled. While I've got these peels on this tray, I'm going to go ahead and peel my carrots as well. So I've got 4 carrots here. They're kind of on the smaller side. I'm going to leave my gloves on. I'm going to go ahead and cut my butternut squash up into probably about ½ inch pieces or so. Nice enough to get roasted. So what I'm going to do is cut off the top, cut off the bottom, toss those. Seeds in the middle, so I'm going to cut right at the middle there. Cut it in half, and then use a spoon to scrape out the seeds. Okay, my butternut squash is done. I'm going to go ahead and chunk up my carrots as well. Alright you guys, so really quick, I just have my butternut squash here, I've got my carrots here. This is all going to be cooked in the Instant Pot, so really the size and stuff like that doesn't matter, and then we're going to be blending it up anyway. So as long as it gets nice and soft, that should be totally fine. So that's what I've got here. I'm going to put this to the side, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of my vegetables. I'm going to cut up my onion. I'm going to cut up my bacon. I didn't mention the bacon earlier, but there is some bacon in here. So I'm going to cut all that stuff up and have it ready before I get my Instant Pot out and start cooking. Alright, so I'll see you guys back in just a second. Okay, so there is my butternut squash and the carrots. A little salt and pepper. I also put about ½ cup of chicken broth in there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cook it on high for about 4 minutes. So like I said, I am a bit of an Instant Pot novice. So I'm not exactly sure if this is going to come out right. There's also a steam option that I'm very tempted to use, but I'm going to stick with the pressure cook 4 minutes. And then we'll come back and I will let you know if it turned out correct. I want it to be soft, pretty soft really, because it needs to be kind of blended. So I'm hoping to get it pretty soft. So we'll see how it goes. So while that is going, while the vegetables are cooking, I did want to go over the spices. The recipe says to use a teaspoon of cinnamon and nutmeg and ginger. I did use a full teaspoon of ginger, but then I just did a half teaspoon of nutmeg and cinnamon, and then I also added in a half teaspoon of chili spice and cumin as well. Just based on my own kind of preferences, we'll see how it goes. But that's what I did there. The butternut squash is looking great. Super tender. It is really soft. It's almost like baby food soft, which is totally fine. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and turn the Instant Pot to the saute side, and I'm going to cook up this bacon. Oops. There we go. I'm going to cook up this bacon, render out the fat. Get it kind of crispy, and I'm going to take it out. Once it's crispy, I'm going to leave the bacon drippings in, and then I'm going to use the bacon drippings to cook the onion. All right, and then we'll kind of go from there. All right, so I'm going to let this heat up, and then let's put our bacon in. Go. I pulled the bacon out and it is cooked just like that. One thing that I'm noticing about the Instant Pot that I'm not so crazy about is there's only two settings, either high or low for saute. And like the bacon started to burn, so I had to set it to low, which is like barely a simmer. So you really only have the two levels to play with, so that's kind of a negative. But at any rate, I'm gonna go ahead and add in my onions. I'm going to add in a little salt and pepper. Alright, I'm going to cook these down until they are softened, maybe have a little bit of color on them, and then I'm going to toast my spices in here as well. Alright, so the onions are now kind of softened down, which looks great. I'm going to go ahead and add in a little bit of oil, because I want to make sure there's enough fat in there for my spices as well as for my flour. I've turned it down to low, so again, it's either high or low, which is kind of annoying. So spices are in. Oh, it's very aromatic. It's very like Moroccan smelling, which I love. I'm going to add in about a tablespoon of flour to kind of help with the thickening later on. Enough fat in there. Again, whenever you're cooking with flour and making like a roux, you want to make sure there's enough fat in the bottom. Okay, I'm going to switch to a wooden spatula so I can scrape here. Okay, the flour is cooking off, the spices are starting to feel aromatic, which is great. I'm going to add in just a little more salt and pepper. And I'm going to deglaze with about a 1/4 cup of white wine. All right. Scrape the bottom. Alright. So now I'm going to add my carrots and my butternut squash back in, and all of that juice. And then it says to add 8 ounces of water. I'm going to do chicken broth instead, and I'm actually going to increase it a little bit. This is probably about 1.5 cups instead of a cup. All right. Pop it back up to high. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to let this all simmer together, let the flavors kind of come together, continue scraping off the bottom. I'm going to kind of taste it for seasoning in terms of like saltiness and stuff like that. And then we're going to blend it all together, all right? But first I have to let it kind of come up to temp, so see you guys in a second. All right, so it is starting to kind of bubble up, which is great. Letting me know that it is right at temperature. I'm going to go ahead and blend it up. Now, I want to make sure that it's a little bit on the thinner side because we're going to be adding in lots of cheese and stuff like that to thicken it up too, so I might need to add in some additional liquid. I'm doing that in keeping in mind that I'm adding in about 8 ounces of milk as well, so it's kind of like a little bit of a balance. Right, but either way, I'm going to turn it down to low again. Again, you know, I'm not really crazy that I can only either be high or low, so I considered like transferring this to like a pot and then doing it on the stove, but then I'm like, no, I'll just do it like this. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and blend this up until it is super, super smooth. You'll notice I have the bacon on the side because I want those pieces to be whole. Anything that I'm going to blend in here with my immersion blender is going to get pulverized and super smooth. So I want to make sure that my bacon is out. At this point, all the spices are in. And then all of the dairy products like the milk and the cheese, they're going to add creaminess, but they're not going to add flavor. So at this point, I'm just going to try it and make sure that it's seasoned correctly, because I know that when I add in the, whoops, splash myself. When I add in the milk products, it's going to only make it less seasoned tasting. So let's see. So now that it's seasoned and where I want it to be, the last step is I'm going to turn it on low and keep it at a low simmer. I'm going to add in 8 ounces of milk. I'm going to add in my cream cheese, which is about 4 ounces of cream cheese. And then I'm going to add in my 3 ounces or so of American cheese. Stir that all together and then it should be done. All right, so I will show you what that looks like in just a second. Product, you guys, so good. It's super cheesy and it tastes like cheesy, like Moroccan potato-y soup, but it's got all those really great vegetables in them. I topped it with just a little bit of cilantro and green onion. Super good. I don't know that I actually have this one at Animal Kingdom Lodge. Maybe I have. I don't know. Really great, you guys. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Comment down below. Click the subscribe button. All of those great things. And I will see you guys next time.